Hello, Kansas City. Welcome to another fantastic day out there. You're joining us for another episode of what we call Life After, a show where we explore what's been going on with students after they left high school. I have the honor and the privilege and the great chance to reach back to some of my students that I taught for a number of years at Paseo Academy, and I am joined by one of those students this evening. This morning, depending on what time of day this show might be airing. So, welcome April Williams to Life After. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
So, April, I remember, was a graduate of what year? Let's go there first. 05, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to see. I think I have a checklist somewhere of which I'm trying to hit everybody. So if you're listening, you're other 05ers or 06ers, or let me know. I'm trying to fill in all the years. But 05 has been 16 years ago, if we're doing math, right? So that's neat. We have quite a bit to catch up with. The goal of this show is to find out kind of how students who left high school discovered their path and really what they're doing now as a possible chance for other students and other people in our city to think about what their paths are, maybe before they get to that moment in their life. So, April, wind us back to 05. I remember it. I don't know if I remember it as well as you do, because I had a lot of 05s, and then I had a graduating class 06 and 07. But I know, like, I remember 96 like it was yesterday sometimes, because that's my year. What do you remember? What do you remember about 05?
Ooh.
What stands out, or what did you keep with you that was kind of dear to you after leaving that place?
Man, the arts in general, that, being at Paseo, my love for the arts, like it just built it more and more. Like, I may not still be in it as far as performing, but I am constantly going to shows and supporting local artists, especially I'm in New Orleans now, so there's always music and artists and things going on, and I go to the theater and see shows, and so the arts definitely just been at Paseo in general.
So it changed the way you see life. I mean, you see through the arts lens now.
Yes.
I love that. So do I, because I worked there forever. And it's really still in me too. I love to think through the arts lens. So what were you doing for people who didn't experience it back then in the arts at Paseo? You said I don't do it as much now, but what were you doing back then?
Right. I was doing creative writing and theater. And so, I might write sometimes, don't really share it, but just, as an outlet, might write a little bit. And the theater, I don't do that much. I think the last thing I did was senior year. I did Steel Magnolias.
How cool. You're mentioning that they're doing Steel Magnolias coming around, I think this weekend at Paseo this year. Yeah, if only we could teleport you back, and then we don't have those planes or that technology.
Right. Yeah. That was the last thing I did as far as theater. But I mean, I actually was thinking about looking into like local and maybe just auditioning for something. Just,
Right. It's still in you.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, yeah, that's important. And I know how rich it feels to have worked there that long. And I know, so 05 still stays with you that strongly. All right. So think about that moment that came after that. Like, that's the neatest part for me to remember too, is that it feels daunting when you're young to think that you really have to make a decision or do something when high school's over. So do you remember how that played out for you, or how it felt to be in that moment?
Yeah, I was a little lost. I didn't go directly to school, or I just hung around, kind of partied, worked. First couple years, it was just, odd jobs here and there. And then I think when I was 20, I started working at Mazuma, the credit union, and I was there for about 5 years. So I liked it there. I did well with the financial institution, and you know, and I think, yeah, and then at 25, after being there for 5 years, I was like, yeah, I think it's time to go. Time to leave Kansas City, everything. So I actually moved to Dallas, and I was in Dallas for about 6 months, and I was like, this still isn't it. And then I did JROTC in high school, and then at 25, I ended up at the recruiter's office in Dallas, and I am now in the U.S. Navy.
Wow, representing. That's so neat. And I remember learning that the viewers who are watching this show would never guess that we met at random in the middle of Atlanta airport, right?
Yes.
And
yes, on a layover. I was on a
like
layover.
probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We were just walking by each other, and I recognized you in a split moment and just said, April. Like maybe that wasn't her, maybe it was. And that was so
But
neat.
I actually had on a KC shirt, so that helped.
Right. And I remember you telling me then about that you were in the Navy, and that, so that's how I knew. Okay, so what pulled you that way? Because I think that's kind of what's neat to explore. Do you know, or did you just kind of go with it, or did you consciously feel kind of pulled that way?
Well, definitely JROTC helped a lot. I mean, some of my major mentors in high school, we had Major Brooks, Sergeant Erickson, Sergeant Bean, and though, so the military was always in the back of my mind, but unfortunately, right after high school, wasn't really ready for it. There was a lot going on military-wise in '05, and so
True.
I didn't go right away. And then, I kind of felt like after too long, like, I'm probably too old for it. But when I went in at 25, they were like, no, come on, we can use you.
Very cool. So what is it like to be part of the U.S. Navy? Like really can't guess. I can read about it, but like, what do you do, I guess, is my biggest curiosity. What's your day like? And then how does it feel?
So originally I've now switched up. So originally my first 5 years, I was an air traffic controller. So I got, I did my ASVAB test. I tested well. One of my job options were air traffic controller. And I was like, yeah, let's give that a try. So I did that my first 5 years, got fully qualified. That was pretty cool.
And you're controlling major air traffic, not like, I mean, you're talking about like fighter planes and stuff like that are.
Yeah, there were some jets and yeah. So I did it, I was actually stationed in Jacksonville, Florida at that time. So there's a naval base with the airport there. So, the planes would train there, and yeah, so I was, basically the one up in the control tower saying clear to land or turn, or, trying to make sure there's no incidents in the air or on the ground. Wow. So I did it. I did that in Florida, and then I also did it for 1 year on. I lived on a very small island in the Indian Ocean. It's a very small military island.
Wow. So that had its perks, I would imagine, if you're living on an island.
Yes, it had its perks as being a tropical island, but it was a different type of experience because, like I said, it was a very small island, and it's military only. It's not like, I'm not giving any top secrets or anything like that. It can be Googled, but but there were no civilians at all, no kids, no families, nothing. Everybody on that island was military or contracted by the military. But it was like going back in time for a while, because like our cell phones didn't work, just walking around. It was just, and I was about, I don't know, I think I was like 14 hours ahead time wise, something like that. So it was hard, staying connected. It would have to be through like Facebook messages and stuff like that.
Wow. So that's not your deal now. What's
right. So now, I got out. I did because I had a 5-year contract, and I was like, okay, I'm doing my 5 years, get out. So I got out. I was living in Jacksonville for about 2 years, 2 more years after. Um, and I worked at another credit union there in Jacksonville because, I just know that's already what I like to do. So I did that. And I stayed part of the Navy as a reservist, but I wasn't active duty.
Hmm.
And then after 2 years, I was like, I'm kind of bored. And I was like, I'm going back in. And so now I'm back active duty.
Oh, wow.
And I want to, because I still kind of just was putting off school, maybe taking some classes here and there. And now I was finally like, you know what, though, I need to finish school. That has to happen. So when I went back in, I decided to take administrative job so that I could have like more time to focus on school, and so that's what I'm doing now. And I am also still in finance. I'm actually I'm doing admin, and I'm a certified financial specialist. So I can do my regular admin job, and I can kind of help younger sailors deal with their finances, how to use their credit properly. And because a
Wow.
lot of military members get scammed,
Hmm.
especially the younger ones right out of boot camp or whatever. They, car dealerships know, like, hey, they have a check coming in and we're going to give them this car with this high interest rate. And so it's good to be able to like school them and help them on what they may not have gotten growing up. So that's
Wow.
what I'm doing now. My day-to-day right now is like a regular office job. I just happen to be in a uniform, and all the work that I'm actually doing, the paperwork that comes across, it's, military based and stuff like that.
Yeah, and impactful. Sounds like really important work to be doing. That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really something. And so, did you think it would turn out like that going in, or you were just kind of guessing, I guess? But I mean, as far as like something you could continue to keep doing for a while.
Yes. So once I came back in, I made the decision I'm going to retire. So I basically what I did, I've always said if I did more than 10 years, I'm not going to I'm not wasting 10 years of my life just to get out. I'm going to go all the way to the 20 mark or further.
Mm.
So when I got back in and I still had that 5 years on my belt, I purposely re-enlisted for 6 more years. So that way it forces me to be at that 11-year mark when it's time for me to re-enlist again. And it'll just keep me going. And, it, I mean, my retiring after 20 years is not, it's not the worst thing that can happen. You know what I
No,
mean?
not at
So
all. No, I'm on my
yeah,
21st year of teaching, and I dare say I'm not, or education, I'm not exactly
right,
done. Right. So
right.
it's really neat, and I think that's the coolest. You got a lot of years to go, but yeah, I started very early. I'm middle 40s and have been in a
Okay.
career for 20 years. So it's a neat perspective to have to stay with
Yeah.
something. And
So if you would have, I've seen people because I'm 34, and I know people who, they joined right at 18. So I
mm,
see people at 38 retiring, and it's
wow.
like,
And there's incentives, right, for homes and things like different
oh,
bills. And yeah, are you able to access some of those things too?
oh yes. So like school, of course, that's paid for.
Mm,
And yeah, so there's so many benefits when it comes to the military. But yeah, like a VA loan is one of the ones that a lot of people they take advantage of, and I definitely plan on taking advantage of it. I was ready to buy a home before I came here, but when I found out I was going to be stationed in New Orleans, like I was happy about it, but I didn't want to buy a home in New Orleans
yeah,
just out of insurance and the storms and the stuff like that. That was my main concern about it. But
gotcha. Very volatile environment in New Orleans, yeah, with
yeah, I was
whatever
here
is
for the
going
last.
on with nature that isn't necessarily going to happen just for a while. I think we're probably on a ride for some more problems down the road. So,
I
well,
mean, yeah, New Orleans, it's pretty much almost guaranteed yearly. It's just, how bad is the storm going to be?
mhm.
Because the last one I was here for, it was pretty bad. It was a Category 4 hurricane, and
Wow. Wow. You
it
got
was
all kinds of
pretty.
things you could write about now. I'm listening to all these stories and I'm turning back into writing teacher guy. And I'm like, all right, not only are you going back in school, but I bet you're going to have like a rich choice of things to talk about in class. I mean, That's so neat. I'm so excited for you've done it all. You've done finance, you've done that's really cool. And there's still lots of room for lots more. So the final part of this show is for that reflection that you've really been doing so powerfully for us already. I was going to ask you about your future goals, but you just worked those in like magic. Um, what do you think young people would benefit from hearing that maybe you did, or that by living this life that you've been doing, that you think you've discovered something to pass on? That was my favorite part in working with seniors, is asking them to think what they would tell a freshman each year, because it's really just been 4 years, but man, in those 4 years, have there been some change of mindsets and some light bulbs going on, So do you have one of those that you heard back then, or something you tell yourself now, or you would tell others?
Uh, One
Maybe
thing is just,
lots of them.
I would say definitely just take that leap. If you have an idea about something and you seem scared about it, or you're just too cautious and you're like, let me wait a couple years or whatever. Sometimes it's just best to just do it. Just go for it. If it's, whatever career path you might feel like taking, or starting a new, anything. Or like, for me, coming into the military, I could have done it earlier, but hey, everything happens for a reason. So I had pros and cons when it came to doing it a little later in life, because by the time I came in, there were so many things I already knew, because I had already been in the real world for a while. So it benefited me a lot, as far as getting promoted, or just dealing with dealing with people. And I just say, go for it. Whatever it is you're thinking about doing, or trying for, do it. Even if you fail, you did it. And usually when you fail, there are more opportunities. And then it's like, okay, learn from it. I did it this way the first time, that didn't work out. So let me try it a different way.
That's awesome. And I would add, I never add to people's things. I want to make sure I don't make that precedent. But when a door seems closed at first, it's not always closed. And they may have just been trying to see if you would push it back open and tell them it's supposed to be open. Because I've had a couple of those where I've got a no or two, and then I've written back to the people and said, keep me in mind, or I maybe there weren't enough spots for this round, but
Right.
I'm always gonna be interested in this, and it surprised me. I mean, people told me that same kind of stuff, and a few times I've had the courage to try that. It's been so true. So when doors are seemingly closed, they're not, they're temporary. They have hinges. You can, get them back open somehow, just by continuing, like April sharing with us, to go
Yeah.
after it. So
Don't give up. Don't be discouraged. Just, make that a motivation. Make it more motivation for you to just go
mm-hmm.
harder the next time.
And even those people who said no, they may really respect that you didn't just take no. It's really interesting. So don't give up the first time you hear a no. Would be my tiny bit to add to that. And I think that's a fantastic way to go out. April, it's been awesome catching up with you. I knew running past you so fast in Atlanta airport that we had a lot to catch up on. And I appreciate you doing that. I hope if you've been listening, young people and not so young, and have heard some value and some wisdom from her life story. So if you're listening and you like these examples as things you would do with your classes, or you would like to find out more about this show, reach out to me. I am Chris Odam. I work for Kansas City Public Schools. Same situation would be if you would like to recommend a person to be in this show and have this discussion. I would certainly listen to them and value the path that they may open to someone else just by listening to another story. So thank you, April, for being here. Thank you, Kansas City, for listening. We're signing off on Life After. Adios.